Level 1, The Apprentice. You're 18 years old, and it's Monday morning, and you're standing in the driveway of a stranger's house holding a pipe wrench you don't know how to use. Your journeyman is named Dale. He's 43 years old. He has a gray mustache, forearms like a blacksmith, and approximately zero interest in explaining anything twice. He opens the van, hands you a bucket of tools, and points at the front door. First day of your plumbing apprenticeship starts now. The homeowner has a burst pipe under the kitchen sink. Dale looks at it for 15 seconds. He tells you what's wrong, what parts you need from the van, and which tools to bring. You go to the van. You don't know where anything is. You open every drawer and compartment looking for the things he named. Half of them you can't identify by sight. You bring back what you think he asked for. He looks at what you're holding, 2 out of 5. He goes to the van himself and comes back in 20 seconds with everything. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. You watch him work. The repair takes 9 minutes. Clean, efficient, no wasted movement. He's done this thousands of times, and every motion is automatic. You understand in that moment that you're not just learning a trade, you're learning a physical language that takes years to become fluent in. Plumbing apprenticeship is typically 4 years. 4 years of on-the-job training combined with classroom instruction. You're learning the code. The International Plumbing Code is hundreds of pages of regulations that govern everything from pipe sizing to fixture placement to ventilation requirements. You're learning materials. Copper, CPVC, PEX, cast iron, each one installed differently, each one suited to different applications. You're learning drainage, how gravity works for you, how slope determines whether waste moves or sits. You're learning that bad plumbing doesn't announce itself immediately. Bad plumbing announces itself 6 months later inside a wall you can't see. The work is harder than most people expect from the outside. You spend entire days on your knees. You crawl through crawl spaces that haven't been accessed since the house was built in 1974. You work in attics in August when it's 120 degrees. You work in basements in January when the pipes froze and the homeowner is standing over you panicking. You encounter things under floors and inside walls that no human being was meant to encounter. You learn to breathe through your mouth as a matter of professional survival. Year 2 of the apprenticeship, you're faster. You can read a job before you start it. You understand what the finished installation has to look like, and you can plan backward from that picture. Dale still corrects you, but less often now, and differently. Less, you're doing it wrong, and more, here's a better way. That shift matters. It means he's starting to see you as someone who can be developed rather than just supervised. You're making real money, not journeyman wages yet, but real money for someone your age with no college debt and skills that are genuinely in demand. Level 2, the journeyman. 4 years later, you sit the journeyman examination. 8 hours of questions covering every aspect of the trade. Code sections, load calculations, pipe sizing formulas, installation sequences. You pass. You are licensed journeyman plumber. You can pull permits. You can work independently. You can sign off on your own work. The independence changes everything. There's no Dale watching. The quality of your work is entirely your responsibility. Nobody catches your mistakes before the inspector does. You develop habits accordingly. You check your own work twice. You test every joint before closing the wall. You read the code section before you start something you haven't done recently, because assuming you remember correctly is how callbacks happen. Callbacks. Every plumber dreads them. A callback is when you return to a job to fix something that failed after you left. Callbacks cost you time and money and reputation. Your first callback happens 14 months into your journeyman career. A shower valve you installed is leaking behind the wall. The homeowner has water damage. You tear out the tile, replace the valve, repair the substrate, help coordinate the tile repair. It takes 2 days and costs you more than the original job paid. You never install that valve brand again. You never skip pressure testing again. You work for a mid-sized plumbing company, new construction and service work. New construction means working on houses being built, rough-in plumbing, running pipe through framing before the walls are closed, setting fixtures once the house is nearly finished. You develop a rhythm with the other trades. The electricians are doing their thing, the HVAC guys are doing theirs. You're all working the same space on overlapping timelines. Coordination is constant. Conflicts are constant. You learn to solve problems with other tradespeople without turning every disagreement into a confrontation. Service work is different. Service work means going into existing homes and fixing things that are broken or replacing things that are worn out. Every house is different, every situation is different. You develop diagnostic instincts. When a homeowner describes a problem, you're already forming hypotheses. The water pressure drops only when someone runs a shower? That tells you something specific. The drain is slow in one fixture but not others? That tells you something different. You become a detective who works in wet environments. Level 3, the specialist. 6 years into your career and you've developed specific expertise. Commercial plumbing. The systems in commercial buildings are orders of magnitude more complex than residential. Larger diameter pipe, higher pressure systems, backflow prevention, grease interceptors, medical gas systems, booster pumps, fire suppression coordination. Commercial work requires certifications beyond your journeyman license. You get them. Each one is a door opening to higher complexity and higher paying work. You work on a hospital expansion project, 14 months. The plumbing systems in a hospital have requirements that don't exist anywhere else. The water supply to surgical suites, the waste systems that handle medical materials, the pressure requirements for specific equipment, the redundancy built into every critical system because hospitals can't have plumbing failures. You learn things on this project that you couldn't have learned anywhere else. Medical gas certification comes next. Oxygen systems, vacuum, nitrous oxide. These systems keep people alive. The installation standards are extreme. The testing requirements are extreme. The certification exam is the hardest test you've taken since high school. You pass it on your second attempt. Your first attempt you failed by 3 points. Those 3 points teach you to take nothing for granted in a technical exam. You're earning significantly more than your early journeyman years. Commercial work pays better. Specialty certifications pay better. Skilled people who can work on complex systems are not common. You're becoming one of the uncommon ones. Level 4, the foreman. 9 years in the trade, and a large commercial contractor promotes you to foreman. A team of 6 plumbers, a project to manage, timelines to hit, materials to order, inspections to coordinate, problems to solve before they become crises. The foreman role reveals a truth about yourself you didn't necessarily expect. You're good at managing people, not because you're naturally authoritative, because you understand the work deeply enough to explain it clearly, sequence it intelligently, and troubleshoot it quickly when something goes sideways. The people who work for you can sense that competence. It makes them willing to follow your direction, even when the direction isn't what they'd choose. Your first big project as foreman is a 12-story office building. The mechanical room alone is bigger than most houses. You're coordinating pumping installation across 12 floors on a schedule that has no tolerance for delays. When the mechanical engineer changes the pipe routing on floor 7, with 4 weeks left before inspection, you have to resequence the entire floor's installation in a single afternoon. You do it. It costs you sleep. It costs you a weekend. The inspection passes. The other foremen become your network. You share knowledge across companies. Who makes the best fittings? Which inspector is flexible on minor issues and which one cites everything? Which subcontractors show up when they say they will? This informal network has real value. The plumbing industry runs on reputation and relationships in ways that are invisible to people outside it. Level 5, the master plumber. 12 years after your first day in that stranger's driveway with Dale and his gray mustache, you sit the master plumber examination. The master license is the highest credential in the trade. The exam is comprehensive. Code mastery, system design, business and legal requirements for operating a plumbing contracting business. You study for 4 months. You pass. With a master license, you can open your own plumbing company. You can design plumbing systems. You can supervise other journeymen and apprentices under your license. You're at the top of the technical hierarchy in your trade. A large developer approaches you about a recurring contract. They build residential subdivisions. They need a reliable plumbing contractor for every project, 20 houses at a time, 40 houses at a time. Consistent work for years if you can handle the volume. It's too big to do as a solo operation. You have to decide whether to stay as a highly paid employee doing the work you know, or take the risk of building a business. You decide to build a business. Level 6, the business owner. The first year of owning a plumbing company is a masterclass in things you didn't know you didn't know. You understood plumbing completely. You understand business considerably less. Bidding jobs accurately, managing cash flow when clients pay net 60 and your suppliers want payment in 30. Workers' compensation insurance, vehicle insurance, liability insurance, payroll taxes. The administrative load is enormous, and you're handling most of it yourself, while also trying to keep up with the technical work. You make mistakes. You underbid 2 jobs significantly because you estimated labor hours incorrectly. You lose money on both. You hire a bookkeeper who understands contractor accounting, and she saves you from making those mistakes again. She also shows you 3 areas where you've been leaving money on the table in your pricing. You adjust your rates, the work doesn't dry up. Clients pay for quality and reliability when they've experienced enough unreliable contractors. Your team grows. 2 journeymen become 4. 4 become 8. You hire a service manager who handles scheduling and customer calls, so you're not personally managing every interaction. You lease a second truck. You move into a small office with a proper storage area for materials instead of running the business from your dining room table. The developer contract performs as promised. 20 houses at a time, regular as a heartbeat. You're planning rough-in schedules 3 months out. Your crew knows the developer's standard house plans as well as you do. The installations become smooth and predictable. Your costs come down as your efficiency goes up. That margin is where a business becomes viable. Year 3, the business turns consistently profitable. You're making more than you ever made as an employee, not by a small margin, by a significant one. But you're also working harder than you ever have. The difference is that the work you're doing now builds something. Every profitable job adds to an asset that has value, not just your labor, the business itself. Level 7, the expert. 15 years into your career, and you've become someone the industry comes to with hard problems. Not just in your company, more broadly. You get called in to consult on failed systems. A large commercial building where the hot water doesn't reach certain floors despite an apparently adequate system. You diagnose a friction loss problem in the distribution piping that was undersized during original design. The fix isn't cheap, but it's straightforward once you see it. You get appointed to a code review committee for your state. The code is updated every few years. Real practitioners need to be involved in that process, or the code loses its connection to how work actually gets done. You sit in rooms with engineers and regulators and other contractors. You represent the people who have to execute what the code requires. Your voice carries weight because your experience is deep and specific. You start teaching evenings at the technical college where you took your apprenticeship coursework 20 years ago. The students are 18, 19, 20 years old. Some of them remind you of yourself at that age, eager, uncertain, not fully understanding what they're getting into. You tell them what the work actually is, the physical demands, the intellectual demands, the career path, the opportunities, the real satisfaction of solving problems that matter to real people in their real homes. One student asks you what the best part of the job is. You think about it for a moment. Then you tell him, the best part is that when you're done, something works. Not works in a vague sense, works in the specific, measurable, undeniable sense that water flows where it's supposed to flow and doesn't flow where it's not supposed to flow. In a world where a lot of work produces results that are hard to evaluate, that clarity is unusual and valuable. Level 8, the legacy. 20 years in the trade. Your company employs 22 people. You've trained 11 apprentices who are now journeymen working at other shops around the region. 2 of them are foremen. 1 opened his own company last year. You're proud of that more than almost anything else in your career. Your body has opinions about 20 years of the work. Your knees have strong opinions. Your lower back participates in every decision about whether to take on certain types of jobs. You've learned to manage these things. You schedule the physical work differently now. You take the diagnostic calls and the complex system consultations. You let your foreman run the crews on the straightforward jobs. Dale retired 2 years ago. You went to his retirement party. He looked exactly the same except he'd traded the gray mustache for a white one. You told him he was the best teacher you ever had, even though he never formally taught you anything. He said that was the point. You understood exactly what he meant. Somewhere right now, an 18-year-old is standing in a stranger's driveway on a Monday morning, holding a pipe wrench they don't know how to use. A journeyman is handing them a bucket and pointing at the door. They have no idea that this moment is the beginning of something. They think they're just starting a job. They're starting a trade. They're starting a career. They're starting a life's work that will take them places this morning's version of themselves can't imagine.